StarCraft Remastered
Bom, Zé,
Agora sim.
faça as honras.
Bom, antes de tudo, quero saber que lado esse chat aí tá, hein? Protoss, Zerg ou Terranos? Olha aí.
It was released in March of 1998, and then
Fala que esse Zerg é melhor.
came out November 1998, I believe, and then the remaster was just a couple of years ago in 2017, and it added some ultra high definition resolution, some re-recorded audio, and some different, like a different ladder system online, because it used to just use custom games.
Esse runner ele já faz
play
um de StarCraft há um bom tempo. Vai jogar do Protoss e é bem certo, safe assim, mais levinho de jogar, então não tem problema. Mas sendo um jogo que tá remasterizado.
What? No. I am Covert Muffin, and I have never run this game, but I'm here. This is going to be great. Yeah.
Oh, great. Let's get right into it. Okay, we'll start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Beleza, começou a run. As primeiras coisas que tem que fazer é tentar logo de cara já começar a acelerar o tropa já. Eles vão passar reto assim de tudo. Só pra chegar lá no final. E esses nidos aí, esses canais de nidos aí, são as estruturas. Ele tá com o Protoss, ele tá usando o Zeratul, ele vai literalmente cagar pra todo mundo e vai correr até destruir o nido.
World of the Dark Templar. But so the one of the big differences with StarCraft is that it uses asymmetrical races. So we have the advanced Protoss race, we have the crafty Terrans, and we have the Swarm, the Zerg. If we went back to Warcraft 2,
além disso, ele vai forçar seu exército, ele vai manter esse máximo de exército. Não, o mínimo possível para perder tanta coisa. Ele vai ter que voltar, então não vai dar certo.
Because Zeratul has 400 shields, but shields take max damage from all different attack types in StarCraft. So we have concussive, explosive, and normal damage. So a sunken colony that hits for 40, that's going to knock down our shields very quickly. But we're going to get set up here at a secondary outpost where we can use.
Beleza, agora ele vai passar reto.
And kind of
esses Wrath aí é bem chatinho.
Yeah, Dime is going to use some really big, beefy units here to take.
Acaba atrapalhando. Apesar que eles serem fortes, eu não gosto muito de usar eles. É bom, parla de Protoss. É bem chatinho de usar ele. Principalmente se for depois de jogar.
Other good units you can bring along, but they're just not fast enough to make it through here quickly. So he's going to try and tank with this Archon, but unfortunately the Dragoon took the aggro first, but he did manage to make it through. That's a lot of damage.
Okay, we're good. We're good.
But he should be alright. It looks very scary.
Continuando, ele vai manter esse Zeratul aí até
normally he'd want most of that attention
lá embaixo, no finzinho do mapa.
Now that he's past that part, he can just squeeze right past this Ultralisk, which is going to stare at him for a second, but not quite aggro, and he's going to be able to finish up here. So really nicely done. That was very scary, but Dime managed to get through it.
Beleza. E GG.
Yeah, you can clap for that. Yeah, that's good.
So we have the Kali Protoss, and we have
Falando sobre o Dark Templar e o Templário da Trevas e o Templário normal. Eu não vou explicar a história do StarCraft, mas resumindo, tem 3 asas e as 3 asas se diretam aí. E eu não vou dar spoiler porque tem muito plot twist na história desse game. Quem sabe sabe, quem não sabe vai saber uma sinopsezinha básica do game. Beleza, agora ele vai pra segunda fase do jogo. É bem mais fácil, que ele vai mais controlar a base. Tá, chegar lá no topo, no canto do mapa.
You see them using with their dark blades and their permanent invisibility. We're going to see a couple more Dark Templars in this mission, and Dime is moving his probes in a very particular manner here because he doesn't want to get too far ahead of his zealots. Otherwise, the Zerglings can cause him problems.
Yeah, and so this is going to start breaking into sort of the base building aspect of what an RTS is all about. Because in a lot of different
Ligado que o jogo é velho,
only
mas
control
tem gente que não
one
jogou
or
ainda
maybe
e tem
two
vontade, então não vou dar
things that are
spoiler
going
mesmo.
on your screen at a time.
Não
But
tem
in
assim,
RTS, you
já tá
literally
bom.
have
Focar no
numerous
speedrun.
units that you
Ele
can
tá
set them to
usando.
do all different sorts of things.
Tá
So
usando
here,
todo esse
Dime is
exército aí
building
que
a
agora ele
base
vai ter
to
uma
be able to get
hidra
more
que vai atrapalhar a
resources
vida
to
dele.
build more of those units, which is
Esse galera
basically
fica
known
muito
as
chato
macro.
porque,
And
como
then
ela
he's
atira de
going to be
longe,
controlling individual units here
acaba
by
atrapalhando
leashing
pouco.
these Hydralisks back to try and only
Tem de
aggro a
boinha pra
few of
matar.
them at a time in
Mas
order
ele é
to
assim
keep his
mesmo,
zealots alive while
muito pra
maximizing
pouco.
the efficiency of his damage.
Yeah, and Zealots are really big powerhouse units early on. They've got a pretty good amount of health, and they do a lot of damage, but their main drawback is that they do 16 damage, but it's split into 2 attacks of 8. And that means attacking any enemy that has armor or damage reduction, it reduces both
Beleza, agora eles vão
attacks of 8 damage. So
fazer essa
hitting
defesa,
a
vão fazer
unit
esse cerco
with
aí.
2 armor, you're gonna
Enquanto
do
ele vai
12
manter
damage instead of 16.
as sondas aí
because of the double
fazendo
reduction. But
a
we're about
base
to get some
do
more Dark
Protoss.
Templars here. And we're positioning our units very carefully because, well, the Hydralisks that spawn won't see the Dark Templars since they're permanently cloaked.
Claro,
So
ele
we
vai
gotta
usar
make
muito
sure
desse
that
save
our
aí pra
probes
não
survive
crashar o
here.
jogo
Since we
assim.
only start with 4, losing even one
Realmente
probe
pode
will really
ocorrer
slow
isso,
this
então.
mission down a lot because of the
Acaba
way that
atrapalhando.
income accelerates in this game.
Yeah, and so here there's just an attack wave that Dime is going to be defending, and then he's going to start macroing up. So out of this Nexus, he's going to be building more and more probes. Down below, the Dark
Quanto tempo
Templar
médio dessa coisa?
deal
É de
massive
uma hora.
amounts of damage
De uma hora
to
para
single
baixo.
attacks. Are going to take down those Hydras
Exatamente no
fast,
time do
and
Estimate.
then we are into some dialogue.
E é bem melhor,
And if
porque
you
eu
know
como
a
esse
lot
time do
about
Estimate
playing
é longo,
StarCraft, you'll
principalmente
notice
pela
that there's one
StarCraft
probe out there, kind of in the
não tem
bottom
muita
left,
coisa
because
nas
I'm at
missões
80
assim.
minerals, so I
Tá
can't really
acompanhando
do
o
much with
Protoss.
that. But after this cutscene, I get plus 100 minerals, and then we're going to make a pylon, because in the
Ele
top
tá
right, we
explicando
have
sobre a forma
22
como é
out of
usado
17
o
supplies, so I'm
exército e
supply blocked. So I
o
need
Protoss.
pylons
E os
right
suplementos
away, and
que
each pylon
os
gives me
recursos que
8
tem.
supply.
Yeah, and so from that pylon, he's also going to be building a unit-producing structure known as the Gateway. This is going to allow him to build more zealots. Oh, wait, no, that's on
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet, okay.
Right now, he's going to clear out the center area of the map because the objective for this mission is to kill the base in the bottom right corner. And so he's going to move over and he's going to try and kill some.
Beleza, agora eles vão avançando. Eles vão só observar mesmo. Basicamente como se fosse um jogo de RTS normal, eles vão analisar o jogo e depois vão fazer o resto.
But he's also going to be here because there's going to be some units that spawn here. StarCraft is interesting because it's one of the earliest RTS that started making the CPU build units, but you'll see that they will also rely on spawning attack waves at times as well.
StarCraft também tem GT, que é o game time aí. Ele é em game time das partidas, uma das missões aí que tem o GT.
Yeah, so here's where he's going to be placing the gateway as a bit of a proxy in that nice little choke there. Then from that gateway, he's going to end up building a zealot, which is going to stand in the gap so the units can't actually.
Sim, é bacana vocês verem o teclado ali como ele usa e tal. Geralmente, jogadores de StarCraft, eles usam mais o teclado como um atalho para todos os comandos, seja de destrutora, de soldar, recursos, etc. É de exploração mesmo. É bem mais fácil e prático se acostumar. Isso acelera mais a forma como você vai focar no game, vai maximizar o máximo de... Maximizar o máximo é ruim. Maximizar o tempo que você vai ter de reação em cada coisa. Por exemplo, montar um exército rápido, já introduzindo recursos, já invadindo as inimigas e por isso vai indo.
And Dime is going to be taking advantage of this as you see the creep retreats. He'll be able to get a pylon down
Ninguém rusha de zealot.
and get some gateways up there.
Principalmente nessa
So we
quest,
can have a
ninguém
lot of units
coisa
up
de
here
louco.
close to the enemy base and finish this mission as fast as possible.
And the zealot that's coming out is very imperative because we can have a Zerg spawn of Zerglings that come up and attack me. And it's going to look quite a bit like a multiplayer game. There we go. So we have our wall off, kind of like a Forge Fast Expand.
Yeah, so this is moving along pretty nicely for Dime. Just standing in that narrow gap means that really only 2 Zerglings can hit him at a time. And Zealots only take 3 attacks to kill Zerglings. Their health differential is massive. So just putting him there, that Zealot can take that on pretty nicely.
Tá falando sobre o uso de gás e a forma como tem que gerenciar. Como é o speedrun, ele prioriza mais os menos recursos para fazer mais exércitos. Ou seja, quando você joga profissionalmente, a forma como você gerencia esses recursos já é baseada na forma como você usa sombras, ter mais bases, etc. Para manter esse recurso e ter mais exército depois. Mas como speedrun, ele tem que priorizar mais o gás e minerar um pouquinho menos como é priorizado em partidas profissionais. Partidas ranqueadas mesmo. Próprio game de StarCraft. Seja do 1 e do 2.
Great.
So it can be confusing when you're following a game of StarCraft, but I'm using control group. So if I press say 1-1, I can go to my Dark Templar and my Zealots. I've got camera hotkeys, so like Shift F2 is going to go back to my main base. And you can see all this if you look at the mini-map in the bottom left, just to see where my view is shifting. So we got normal army, base, gateway, and then I have F3, a second camera hotkey to go up here.
Salvou mais uma vez.
Yeah, with hotkeys you
tá propriamente dito no save dele. Ele salva mesmo para preparação, para travar e não ter nada de ruim. Até da CPU trollar o jogo. Vai acontecer isso, já que a parte 2 e o 1 também é diferente da forma como joga. Para te parecer.
So he's not going to be flying the camera around too much, but sometimes at the start of missions, you'll see him really selecting things at high speed. It's something that StarCraft players like to do to keep their hands warm, kind of keep up to speed so that they're able to do the missions effectively.
Yeah, and so one thing that Dime is doing to utilize macro efficiencies, he's actually queuing up units one at a time at the gateways so that he can support being able to produce 3 units at a time. If he had just like filled the queue of one of the gateways completely full, he would not have enough minerals and gas to be able to build the Dragoons at the other gateways. So it's very important that Dime is on top of this. But if he forgets to queue a Dragoon,
ele tá falando sobre a forma como pode acabar o rank. Basicamente, caso você acabe vacilando assim, perdendo todo o exército, você tenta invadir a base inimiga dos Zergs, isso pode acabar toda a run. E como o Zerg ele acaba produzindo muito mais recursos de exército, isso acaba acabando a run inteira de uma vez só. Então, tipo, cada parte de invasão tem que ser uma vez e aí acabou o jogo. Estão fazendo agora. E eles estão usando os destruidores pra... Até porque os destruidores eles são bem mais tanques e usam esses ataques energéticos pra matar os Zergs, que são bem mais fáceis de matar. Tem mais Zergs e menos resistência, pode acabar não sendo usado como vantagem.
Hit hold position and then hit stop. And it will reset them,
and then
control them again. This will happen sometimes throughout this campaign. You'll see it a couple times if you see a Dragoon just standing there doing nothing, even though Dime is telling it to do stuff. That means he has to individually select it and fix it. So at this point, Dime's really just microing. He's got enough units coming in. He can clear this out. Just how well he micros depends on how fast this mission clears up. So he's doing pretty decent so far because he's got his DTs alive, and those are the important ones. But right as I say that, I jinx him because one of them dies. Unfortunate, but he's still got a good amount of units. He's clearing this up shortly.
Ele tem que ficar toda hora gerando esse recurso aí para ele não perder toda a consistência de minerais. Isso pode acabar sendo uma run killer, caso aconteça aí. Ele perder todos esses recursos possíveis. Mas ele tá fazendo isso direitinho, então já tá salvando a vida dele.
It's not because Dime is getting fortunate. Well, maybe like in some cases it is, but a lot of the time it's because he's moving back the damaged units to be able to bring them back into the fight, so the enemy ends up attacking units that have more health.
And unlike in Command & Conquer, which you just saw, a low health unit still has full battle effectiveness. Does not affect their movement speed or their damage. So especially as a Protoss commander here, if you can keep units at low health alive, they'll regenerate some shields, and they'll still be pretty effective in battle. So the goal is to keep them alive as long as possible, because if a unit at 1 health still does
Beleza, ele tá acertando muito bem esse time aí do destruidores matar todo mundo de uma vez só. Tá aproveitando bem. Ele está usando os tormentos também pra... A base disso tudo é realmente destruidor pra toda a base. O destruidor ele tem potência maior para destruir as estruturas, isso facilita a vida dele. Tá bem facinho a run por enquanto. Como eu disse, a campanha do Protoss é bem leve, bem suave. Como é o exército mais forte do StarCraft em relação ao início de jogo, pode facilitar a vida dele. Pode salvar bastante coisa. Não sei se a forma como ele vai jogar a próxima missão vai ser baseado no destruidor. Provavelmente ele não vai focar em só destruidor. Apesar de ser bom para estruturas.
We're 13 minutes into the run, but the total time that he's had on both missions is more than that. That's because the timer in-game is actually running at a slower speed than Dime is set the game to. So for purposes of speed run, he's set the game to the fastest.
Falando sobre o runner, ele é o PB do categoria WR. 47 minutos e 57 segundos. E a diferença, mesmo que não faça a categoria remasterizada, não tem diferença. É a mesma coisa. Apesar de ele ter botado esse sprint bem bacana.
So this mission's interesting because it's the one that introduces us to Corsairs. They're a strictly air-to-air unit, but they have one of the more powerful.
E tem essa vantagem do Protoss, ele pode manter essa produção sozinho e fazer outras coisas. Ou seja, tipo, ele poder manter as sondas ainda em trabalho, apesar de estruturas, etc. Isso também é um lado bom do Protoss. Isso facilita também mais a run.
The duration of their disruption web is about 3 times as long as it is now. So it's going to have them automatically disruption web the static defenses, then spawn some Dragoons. And the intent is that the Dragoons would clear everything out on their own. But since disruption web lasts way shorter than it used to, these Dragoons will die if he doesn't move them away. So instead, he's just going to grab all these units. He's not going to bother with killing these static defenses and just bring them back because it's a bunch of free units he doesn't want to give up. And he'll be able to use those in his speed strategy.
Beleza, ele já tá começando já manter o recurso dele estável. Ele tá mantendo de novo a base do destruidor. A gente vai fazer isso a run inteira porque ele precisa manter essas bases de unidades de destruidor para destruir estruturas. Como ele é um tanque, ele consegue aguentar muita porrada. Pode facilitar a vida dele. Só que ele precisa de uma carga de linha de frente para salvar esses destruidores, caso tenha alguma urgência. Ele pode usar o tormento ou até mesmo próprios templários normais mesmo, para ver se eles salvam a vida dele. Ver se eles acertam.
Power overwhelming.
Thank you, Venom. Oh, need to get a pylon here. So we're getting the robotics because the main Zerg base is on an island here to the southwest. Oh, what are you doing here?
I was wondering what that dot was.
So we want to get a shuttle and transport all of our units over, but we have the DTs here on the south side of the base and the Dragoons over here because there's a small Zergling wave that's going to come.
Yeah, and the Dark Templars are very important because if you're not familiar with StarCraft's story, they found out that the energies that the Dark Templar wield are close enough to the energies of the Zerg that the Zerg
eles já vão
normally impossible
falando sobre Dark Templar. Dark Templar é muito bom para você destruir toda a base inimiga sem você ter. A base inimiga tem capacidade de reação. Pegar ela muito de surpresa também é ideal. Ele vai usar ela como uma forma para manter os destruidores batendo nas estruturas o máximo que der. E também vai usar a sonda para garantir que eles não vejam. A estratégia dele está bem bonitinha, então você pode salvar a vida dele. Esse o nome não é sonda, é Corsair. Essa tradução, porque a tradução de StarCraft 2 é meio fora do comum, do próprio jogo em inglês mesmo. Mas essa unidade ela consegue detectar quem está invisível ou não. Pode facilitar para eles. Principalmente como é Zerg acaba fazendo essas gracinhas de aproveitar. Sim, esse é o StarCraft que tem na Battle.net. Os dois StarCraft são de graça, um e o dois. Tem uma remasterizada.
just an alert system, so I know where they are.
Yeah, so the nice thing that Dime can do is he can just like peek at the mini map every so often because you can't split where your eyes are looking. So using something known as a mental checklist, he is going to be able to see if red dots or purple dots appear. In that, he knows the Overlord drop is coming to a certain location because it can go along one of 3 paths, I believe, for Elkun, right?
I don't remember exactly how many, but
okay.
It is more than one because the AI in this game is interesting. They were able to give the
já acabando já.
like a subroutine
where agora vamos ver os ataques. Como eu disse, eles vão priorizar essa defesa aí, os Zergers. O servidor vai aproveitar isso de todos os que quiser.
And that will cause them to drop here on top of his army, where he can take care of them much more effectively instead of his base, which is relatively unprotected at the moment. So very nicely done, Time.
Yeah, and so all the while, meanwhile, the shuttle can only actually hold 2 Dragoons each time. So he's making 2 Dragoons and then ferrying them over immediately to join the rest of his army. And it's important that he keeps supplementing his army with more and more Dragoons to be able to continue to sustain this attack. Because the longer Dime actually ends up taking in a lot of these missions and situations, the more units that the Zerg is going to have been able to build up. So you think a lot of RTS speedrunning is the difficulty of moving in with minimal number of units. In this case, it's actually working for Dime to be able to attack the base sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because like I said, the enemy will both spawn units and build them. So while it might seem that it would be a lot easier if Dime were to just sit back and make a couple more units, that just means there would be even more defensive units on the side of the Zerg. So you're kind of walking this thin line of attacking quickly with not many units, and well, not letting the enemy build up too many units on their side as well.
And not everyone knows this, but StarCraft 1, it doesn't show it well on the map, but if I shift right-click, like with this Dragoon, there is shift commands, but there's a small delay at the end in each separate movement.
Yeah, so instead of queuing up a bunch of commands, Dime instead is going to end up just telling the units to move a short distance away and rapidly clicking to be able to continue their path.
Bem louco ver formas como ele mantém unidades atacando as estruturas. Ele tá fazendo certinho a coordenação das unidades para destruir cada estrutura. Fica mais fácil para matar. A gente manter os exércitos do Zerg inviáveis para atacar eles. Deu um save ali rapidinho só para manter.
Get our Corsairs ready.
That's one of the things you'll see Dime do repeatedly here is that by attacking,
o pessoal salva assim para manter safe
the enemy
computer de jogo dele.
So he can draw some units out away from their sunken colonies, which are those defensive structures. And he's got to get these DTs in here, and that's why he disrupted web the sunken colonies just so they won't die.
This is really close. Okay.
Ele fez aí foi manter essa distância de unidades, acabou fazendo essa missão rápida.
DTs just ended up dying like
foi muito
right
bom.
After he was able to take down the Cerebrate. So that was insane, dude.
Especially since how we explained how there needs to be a DT standing there for it to die. If it had died too soon, then the Cerebrate would have just respawned right there and he'd have to kill it again, rebuild some DTs. It would have been
o que ele fez é o seguinte, quando apareceu ali, quando apareceu do lado as estruturas dos inimigos, ele já acabou com elas rápido, a ponto de terminar a missão muito rápido. Pessoal, demais até.
I'm fine now. Let's team up.
Yeah, and some of our allies don't believe her, but since we're on the homeworld of the Dark Templar, the matriarch,
vai ter uma sequência de diálogo ali. Vai esperar por enquanto.
So now Kerrigan's going to show up and present a plan, and she's found 2 crystals that embody the power of the Kali, the Protoss from Ire, and one that embodies the
essa missão é muito boa porque ele vai ter que
atacar mesmo, contra-atacar. And use it against the Zerg, but right here he's going to try and grab Kerrigan as soon as he can, and we're going to have a little bit of a ninja mission.
This Dragoon doesn't want to come with me.
Se vocês querem saber qual é o próximo game, tem Interrogação next. Vamos saber qual o próximo jogo aí.
Because it activates the United Earth Directorate base. I'm gonna actually have to reset. I took damage. I didn't cloak. Only like 40 seconds. You can go with a donation, Iggy.
Bom, eu vou aproveitar também e fazer que nem o host lá, né? Falar um pouquinho das próximas Bid Wars, né? Temos o Bid War de nomes do The Legend of Zelda, né? Baidu está ganhando por $3.000.
So this mission,
what we need to do is we
either need to send a drone or Kerrigan down to the bottom right. You see there's a red dot in the mini-map on the bottom left side of the screen. And Kerrigan has a lot of health, and she has Cloak, which is the ability to go invisible like the Dark Templars. So Dime has a lot of very particular movements he's going to make to try and draw some enemies out of the way as he runs through some detection that'll be able to see him so that he can sneak down there and hopefully get down there with just enough health to trigger the end mission. Ooh, that Marine kind of blocked us a little bit. We'll see if we're all right after this, but that's going to be a little bit rough. We'll see how it works out. Yeah, not too much damage, which is why he made that safety save.
I want to be at 170 health.
And the enemy units have an interesting table of priorities for aggro. And one of their highest priorities is that when they're attacked by a unit they can't see.
Analisando a forma como ele vai jogar, falando das estruturas para tentar flanquear os inimigos, é bem louco, porque os terrenos são muito apelões nesse jogo. Então ele vai ter que flanquear assim mesmo, observando toda a base inimiga. Vai usar da Kerrigan para fazer isso.
Yeah. That is very tricky, and there's a lot of very precise clicks that Dime is doing because he wants to move Kerrigan in a very specific path while also keeping from getting body blocked. So he's going to be moving through all this detection, taking a little bit of damage. He has a safe spot if he gets a unit chasing after him. There's a very tiny section where there's no detection that he can reset this.
Vai fazendo isso por enquanto, então não vai ter muita coisa
a crescer.
Aí de boa, na calma.
Well, she will get there with just barely enough health to trigger the end of the mission.
Nice.
That's good.
Beleza.
There we go. Yep.
Nice.
Sou de novo. Tranquilo.
But sometimes you get a Firebat 2 on the bottom left that'll start following you, but there's one little space on the map where there's no detection that I figured out, but otherwise before I was always resetting. I'm like, oh, there's one Firebat, I gotta reset my entire run.
So now we have the Uraj crystal, and we're gonna go after, no, we have to actually go after this intermediary mission where there's a bunch of UED Terrans in the way, and there's these power generators.
Ele vai manter agora, começa a fazer.
Normally,
ele vai ter que defender, atacar, ele vai começar a fazer essa série de maluquices aí, ele vai ter que. Ele vai destruir de propósito algumas unidades. Ele vai ter que recuperar essas unidades depois.
Movement there to show off that his units actually end up having upgrades, making them even stronger. So they buff various stats like damage reduction as well as the amount of damage they're punching out.
And Dime is making use of what we call the magic box, which when you select units, especially air units, and you move outside of a certain range of units outside of where they are, they'll stay in formation. But if you have one of the units in the control group that are far away from the others, they will instantly stack up.
Ele vai botar
todas
tropas deles no choro, porque ele vai colocar dentro ali onde ele tá atacando.
So you can get these scouts in here just inside of all of these missile turrets and take out this power generator while he's now preparing to go after the next one as well.
É só destruir todas essas estruturas aí, geradores aí.
All of the missile turrets, they don't end up like disabling, they just end up changing allegiance to a neutral.
And before this mission, if you were reading, or if you're able to watch the mission briefing, we have Alexei Stukov, and he's trying to be very threatening to the Protoss, saying, you know, get out of this sector, we're the new force, the United Earth Directorate, and then we just destroy him and kind of send him off on his way. Setting up two
Eu não consigo dizer, mas
I just have one shuttle with
não sei se tem speedrun do segundo StarCraft.
tank, and I'm gonna send all the rest
Provavelmente deve ser.
fourth power plant. We're going to do these at the same time. So,
e é diferente também ver o jeito que é como é o jogo. O jogo antigo fez a remasterizado bem diferente desse. Mas é basicamente a mesma coisa. Um pouquinho os gráficos. Não muda nada, basicamente. Só um remaster da vida.
All of our shuttles are dying over there. So while we're killing this power generator, our units are trapped over there. So what is our plan, Buffin? How are we going to hit the last one?
We're going to have the enemy trip on drugs. So here with these High Templar, they have a couple spells.
Beleza, agora ele vai começar a spawnar vários aí. Vai ganhar vários exércitos que ele vai usar lá pra frente de batalha onde ele tá lutando. E vai usar dessa fonte aí pra finalizar a missão.
Are very fragile, but all the static defenses will go after them instead. Spells that are cast that give a debuff will instantly dispel them, which is important later as well. But the main goal is that this one real Arbiter here, which is a slow but powerful spellcaster, is going to fly in with all of these, with the air units flying in front and the hallucinations tanking damage for them, as well as getting some disruption webs down. And if we can manage to get this one Arbiter in, then he can cast the spell Recall, which summons a huge amount of units onto its location. We're going to summon all of them directly on top of the last power generator, ignore the huge battle cruisers attacking us, and just power down the last objective to finish the map.
Beleza,
Nicely
conseguiu
done,
fazer, hein?
Yeah, great job.
In this mission, casually, I'll see players all the time take a half hour, 45 minutes, just slowly destroying every single missile turret on the platforms.
Outra missão, só que agora ele vai ter que ser obrigado a gerenciar os recursos para criar mais exércitos.
Have merged together to form a new Overmind. And this is a problem because Kerrigan doesn't want to be controlled by another Overmind, and we don't particularly like the idea of another Overmind, since in the previous game, Tassadar had to make a grand, noble sacrifice, channeling both the power of the Templar and the Dark Templar into his huge capital ship and crash it into the Overmind to kill it. So he turned himself immediately into a big hero of the Protoss, and they don't know how they would kill another one. So we're trying to stop it. And our objective is we could either kill the new Overmind, which wouldn't kill it, but weaken it, or get the second crystal that we're after. And it turns out that getting the second crystal is much faster for speedrun. So we're just going to leave the Overmind for now. It'll get taken care of in the background story. And this is a good opportunity to show off the miss rate of units in StarCraft. When you're shooting uphill, air units are immune to this, but when you're attacking any ground units or structures, there is a 30% miss rate, but sometimes it feels like it's 50%.
O básico dessa run é manter os destruidores como principal exército aí. Se perdendo o destruidor, ele perde muito tempo para repor, já que ele gasta muito recurso.
I kept the one zealot there for that. So in the Remastered, some strategies are kind of patched out. There's one big member of the StarCraft speedrunning community to talk about, which is Freezered.
Mas tem bastante gente que joga esse jogo.
All of the ILs from SDA way
vale a pena. Tem no YouTube também guia sobre o game
and
e
you can
tal.
go find these ILs on YouTube with
Vale a
the
pena. O
original
Discord
campaign,
também
the
da
Brood War
comunidade.
campaign. And in this mission, the strategy in the older patched version of the game was you'd take a drone to create an extractor, and in a very specific animation, you would run yourself out of minerals and kind of waypoint the drone to the Callus crystal, and it would fly over invincible, and you just win in like a minute and a half. But we're doing a different strategy. We're going to suicide a couple of observers into these Scourge to clear them
Ele
out.
tá usando um observador pra saber toda a noção do
And you
mapa
might
do game.
wonder, oh, okay, I don't have drones.
Ele vai usar o Shuro pra invadir a base dos outros.
But you might wonder, why
Vai
don't
ter
I
que usar
just go
todo o
down this
destruidor
path
como
instead of
uma forma de flanco pra
just
destruir a
kinda
base
keep the
dos
Scourge
Urges.
alive? It's because there's a
Ele vai
bunch
fazer
of
isso.
Hydralisks in the way.
Yeah, so Diamond's clearing out the way here, and even though a lot of what Freezer did on the Isles we can't replicate because he's playing on older versions that aren't accessible for Remastered, and it's also difficult to do a single segment run that's using multiple versions of the game, they were still a blueprint for a lot of our strategies, and a lot of these things that we're doing were built off of what Freezer did originally, so big shout outs to him.
So we just kind of sneak in and steal the crystal and then get out of here.
Yeah, and if you look at the drone, it casually made the drone invincible just to make sure it doesn't die after you complete the mission.
Passa demais. Vai ter de novo essa missão, né? Agora, mais uma vez, destruidores fazendo a
In this
vida.
mission, one of the characters who stormed off earlier when we allied ourselves with Kerrigan has turned around and taken control of a lot of our forces. So we have to deal with him. And we have these Dark Archons, which have a powerful ability called Mind Control. They can take any unit on the enemy side and give you control of it. One of the big downsides is it costs a lot of energy and it completely drains all of their shields when they use it. But there's a patrolling shuttle here that Dime is going to try and take care of. But the problem is Dark Archons, their mind control animation sometimes stops halfway through and doesn't actually finish casting. So you can take these Dark Archons up here with our new shuttle friend that we would have had to take a long time to build on our own. He's going to drop the one that no longer has any shields and use it as a tank as he flies up with the shuttle to get another one much closer, and he's going to mind control this enemy unit that is the objective, which
de novo conseguiu jogar bem ali.
And then we
Ele tem a forma do exército ali, conseguiu usar o posicionamento perfeito.
Because like we were talking about before, the trigger just says, are there 0 Alderis in this spot? And when you mind control it, the enemy computer no longer has control of the Alderis, so it thinks there's 0
Nossa,
there.
essa piada.
Immediately triggers.
Jesus.
Wow, Railcoon, that's bringing a whole new definition to mind games.
Thanks, Muffin.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I saw what you did there. So Alderis is pointing out that Kerrigan has ulterior motives, and we're trying to negotiate with him to try and get him back onto our side. But Kerrigan's going to fly up, and well, she's got her own motives, like he said, and she doesn't want us to hear what Alderis has to say. She's going to come down here and cease these negotiations forcibly, which is going to cause the Protoss to say we don't want her around anymore. But that's what she wants, and she's going to go her own way. But now we have the 2 crystals, and our mission at this point is we need to find the ancient temple that we can channel their power through to try and destroy the Zerg that have infested.
Vai ser depois da hora de Dead Rising. São 5.000, 4.000 aí. Foi mal, falta 4.300 aí. Também tem outro incentivo que é bem louco aí. Que é fazer a Perfect Run do Super Mario Galaxy 2.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I wish those were slow overlords right there, just like the slow escape of characters.
So this final mission, we're primarily going to be doing.
Agora ele vai começar a gerar recursos, só que ele vai observar o mapa inteiro agora. Enquanto está rodeando o mapa. Para pegar a análise da CPU para ver o que ela pode ou não fazer.
Have one of the crystals, and we need to bring it to the temple. Once both of them are there, we get a 15-minute countdown. Once again, that's a little bit faster than 15 minutes, but that's what's going to show on the screen. And the Zerg forces are going to relentlessly attack us until that timer runs out. Like we were talking about, there's these locations on the map that control the AI movements. I was opening up the maps trying to look into this stuff to try and figure out little ways that Dime can save time. And I found that the area around the temple was named the Peninsula o' Pain. And when we get later into this mission, you will see exactly why. If you watch the IL, Freezer gets very risky with this and does some very impressive stuff. But Dime, since this is a marathon, he's going to take a little bit of extra time before he activates the temple to try and get some more defenses up at these side bases.
The longer
he has these side bases active, the more he's getting, and it'll make it a lot safer. So he's going to take a few extra minutes, build these up a little bit, get some Templar cannons going. And the main strategy here is to be build a lot of cannons with Templar behind them using
a CPU, forçar
does a huge amount of damage over a very quick amount of time. But the main thing we have to look out for are the enemy air units. They will send either Mutalisks or Guardians at us, and Guardians are extremely long-range siege units that have high health and can hit cannons from outside of the range where they can be retaliated against. There is a little bit of randomness to their attack patterns, like we mentioned before. So we need everybody here to channel their energy, give us some praise RNG in chat as well. We want as few Guardian attack waves at the start when Dime activates this as possible. So give Dime your energy.
Yeah. Also something to note is that when a Templar pops out of a gateway, it does not start with full energy. However, it's very, very close to the 75 energy that is required for it to be able to cast Psionic Storm. So energy also does not actually regenerate very quickly on individual units. So getting those Templar up as soon as possible is going to be important. And then establishing a nice perimeter of static defense all around both bases as well as the objective itself. Because if we lose the base, we don't necessarily.
Como ele está dizendo, quando você perde a base, você perde a missão. Não pode perder a base. Jeito nenhum. A gente perdeu o controle do jogo. Ele não recupera mais da forma como ele estaria, com recursos bons, etc. Por isso que ele vai tentar fazer o máximo de recursos possível, tentar usar da tática para fazer essa missão ficar completa.
But because, like Muffin said, their energy regenerates very slowly, it allows them to start much closer to a storm, and it's just going to help out a lot. Every time he builds a Templar after that finishes, they'll only need a couple seconds before they can cast Storm. So we're still doing some preparations, and Dime wants these side bases to live for as long as possible. So we're going to get the middle set up, get some cannons down, some gateways so they can start making some Templar there. And one of the things is, you saw he flew Artanis and Zeratul into the center and started taking out those static defenses, and that seems very risky, given one of the mission objectives here is that they must survive. If they die, you instantly lose. But once they go to the temple in the center, they're removed from the map, and they are no longer a usable unit. So at that point, them dying is no longer a risk. So their health values are kind of a resource. You can use their health to clear out these defenses, since once we start the timer, we're no longer concerned about them.
There's just something fitting about that the Protoss has all these advanced things that they have, and they're going to use just cannons, the scariest multiplayer building of all time, to defend.
Vai.
Okay, 5 seconds. Good luck. Have fun.
Vai ter que criar essas energias aí para essas energias necessárias para ele não perder a run.
This is very important because the first couple waves
parte é muito complicada, então vai precisar de muito esforço para pelo menos não perder a base à toa.
Makes it harder for him to get to that critical mass of units that'll make this much safer. But if he gets some of the earlier waves first, it allows him the freedom to get up more cannons, get more Templar, really be in a much safer position. But there is no completely safe position in this map. As you'll see when we hit about the 5-minute mark, things are going to get crazy, and that Peninsula O'Pain name is really going to be shown why it exists. So at this point, Dime is going to be focusing very hard because he's microing, making sure he's defending the side bases and the center at the same time, and it requires a lot of attention. There were a few things that we did want to go over a little bit here while at the start of this, and it's just that there is a very healthy
depois do Sarwan vai ter uma run de The Legend of Zelda, Link Between Worlds, vai ter um mexicano aí no host, talvez comentaria. Vamos ver ali a run. Foi bem bacana desse game de Zelda, mais um.
Sim, a run de a Link Between Worlds, que pra quem não sabe, é a continuação direta do a Link to the Past dos NES, né? O jogo é de 3DS, é bem maneiro.
O jogo tá aqui até agora, só teve o jogo de Zelda até agora, né? Teve Miniscap, Western Jogo Legends of Zelda Randomizer, agora vai ter o Zelda Between Worlds, depois vai ter o Breath of the Wild, depois Majora Mask, e depois ainda vai ter o Link to the Past, ou seja, 6, 7 Zeldas aí, vocês aguentarem.
Because more gas, yeah, that means more high Templar and more storms for him to be able to defend those later pushes. Because as you can see, the timer ticking down at the top center of the game screen, as that gets to a lower number, as he gets closer to the end, more and more units will spawn in large attack waves, just like this huge attack wave here.
Yeah, and Dime is going to be playing a game here trying to save as many storms as he can. If he can clear these early attack waves without using storms, it's going to help a lot. And the main reason why he's using Templar and Cannons is because they complement each other nicely.
Claro, ele é bom em um
50
lado e ruim em
minerals, I think
outro.
actually
Ele é muito
25
fraco,
maybe.
só que
I don't
ele é
remember off the top of my head, but
dano.
150 gas.
Yeah.
Caso tenha alguma linha de frente para proteger ele, isso pode facilitar para deles para matar, ó, as Zerglings, porque o destruidor ele é essencial para justamente destruir essas estruturas mais rápidas, essas torres de Urge aí, pode acabar facilitando a vida deles, só que como o CPU vai atacar e contra-atacar junto,
we're going to start seeing higher tier units. So there's going to be some Ultralisks popping up soon. There are very large, beefy units on the Zerg side that have high health, high armor, and have a pretty good attack. So there's our first Guardians. And those definitely need storms to be taken care of.
Yeah, so they are long-range units, and as you can see, they can attack the cannons without the cannons being able to attack them back because they are out of range. And they deal very high damage into a single target. So them being able to attack the cannons, as Railkun mentioned, it's very, very important that Dime keeps up his micro with both but then also with the high Templar to be able to get out there and I believe it's 2 storms to be able to take down the
CPU vai atacando ele.
Enough health that they will survive.
Wow.
Por isso que ele fez esses canhões, pra não perder tempo fazendo a tropa perder vida à toa.
While they're under a storm is very important. That's why we prefer to see the Mutalisks over the Guardians. One of the interesting things is these Zerglings are actually very scary because at this point in the game they have maximum upgrades, which includes a very insane attack speed bonus that they get from adrenal glands.
Yeah.
And that makes them one of the highest DPS units in the game when they have that upgrade.
All right, so there, oh no. Okay, so Dime here just, Dime is getting attacked with 3 different Guardians like places right now, and so that's very, very brutal because he has 2 that are split on top, so he can't use a pair of storms to take out both of them. But luckily, one of them actually ended up walking within range of cannons, so hopefully that'll take out that one, and the other Guardian will be taken out as the cannons are continuing to build up.
This looks pretty bad in the center, but as long as he can keep the side bases up, this is all right.
Agora é guerra insana agora. A gente vai ter ataque pra tudo quanto é lado. Rezar mesmo pro Zerg não atrapalhar nossa vida, como ele está fazendo agora.
They'll often make them fly in range of the cannons, even if they can outrange it. So you see him losing some cannons, but not panicking, and that's because he knows when those cannons go down, the other Guardians will probably fly in range of the cannons that are behind it. So he's able to clear this out. He saved some storms, even though it looked very scary. He didn't have to use all of his storms, which is very, very important.
Yeah, so something to also note is that Dime actually ended up losing his Nexus, so he can no longer end up getting gas from that geyser. But that's okay, because right now he's just purely focused on trying to bring in cannons back into the fold, because getting out the High Templar really early is important.
Complicada a vida dele, but now difícil ele manter esses recursos aí, mas ele não consegue por causa dos Zergs não quer deixar de manter o exército e a estrutura dele.
We're approaching the 5-minute mark where things are really get crazy. So this is where, we need you to keep giving Dime your energy. There is some luck involved here because of the inconsistencies of the AI. They have a little bit of decision making that's programmed into them. Oh, that's very unfortunate. He was trying to send some Templars from the side base to help support the center, but some Ultralisks came in and sniped them on the way. He should still be all right, but that would have made things a lot safer.
Okay, and so there is a big Guardian wave, but luckily they were all clumped up, so he was able to use 2 storms to be able to take them out. What we absolutely do not want to see end up happening now that I'm about to say this, having a bunch of different Guardian waves
SGDQ, aí vocês escrevem exclamação SGDQ. Fala mais sobre o evento e tal. Parece todo ano. Acontece 2 eventos, SGDQ e AGDQ. Arrecadando aí pra México Sem Fronteira.
He's barely going to hold on to this side base. It's looking scary, but he's got 2 Templar here that he's not using, which is why he's making the save here. We're under the 5-minute mark, but both bases are alive, and that's really good. Even if this looked very scary, getting to this point with both bases alive is extremely difficult. So he's holding on here. He still has some storms.
Tem sorte que o canhão tá fazendo as visitas aí. Ele já perdeu muitos setores, isso não tá dando certo. Vai aguentar essa porrada o máximo que der. 4 minutos ainda pra aguentar.
Meanwhile, there's an two Ultralisks here that are going to be tanking the damage. Nice storm there in the back to be able to take out those Hydralisks.
Eles não querem deixar de ficar vivo ali.
Cut down a lot of their damage potential because as long as the melee units do not have sustain on those towers, that means they are not going to be able to deal any damage. Meanwhile, the middle base has been really fortunate because
ele jogou muito bem agora, ele tá mantendo essa defesa usando os canhões, isso vai salvar a vida dele. Breve tempo. Problema. Ai, agora esse ataque aí deu ruim. Esse ataque está atrapalhando muito a vida dele.
All that attack is from a really bad angle. He does have enough storms to take it out, but it really hurts. He'll be able to defend this, but the big thing is both side bases are alive. That is the most important part at this moment because in a few moments the attacks are just not going to stop. This is the point we wanted to try to get to in good condition, and we are in
2 minutinhos, agora acho que ele garantiu praticamente a vida dele. Acho que tiver um ataque muito bom aí e acabar com a vida dele.
And that's why Dime has been working so hard to try and preserve his Templar energy, because if he had to deal with that, had low energy, he'd be in trouble. And we've got a Troll Guardian over there outside of vision dealing with some of these cannons, but it's looking pretty good so far. Cross our fingers, keep giving Dime your energy, because these last few attack waves are the scariest ones.
Yeah, keep it up, Twitch chat. You have two more minutes of Bless RNG here. Come on. Oh my god, that one Guardian. He was like, what? You're doing a marathon performance? Cool.
Beleza. Os últimos 1 minuto e meio aí. Vai vir um ataque imenso aí, uma horda gigante. Só que como ele botou muito canhão, ele vai aguentar agora. Nossa, os Zergs carregarem aí. E, justamente esses cristais, que não é bom.
Like the brutal aspect of having the Guardians split up. He cannot be able to take them down with only 2 storms. He's going to have to spend more of that precious energy. But with 1 minute left on the clock, the building still has near full health. So even if they're able to get through the cannons, all he has to do is keep it alive for 1 minute. Come on, man, you got this.
Yeah, and you see the units are not stopping at this point. There's air units, ground units flooding in from every direction.
Agora ele vai ter que ficar vivo por muito tempo para não dar ruim.
It's just constant flood of units, and this is why the early part of the mission was so important to be in a good shape at this point. Because if he had even half the number of cannons he had,
agora freio agora.
This would be way worse.
And here we go. Coming down, 15 seconds with that constant macro and micro throughout the rest of the mission. 10 seconds, 8, 7,
GG.
Caraca.
3, 2,
suado.
Time. Yeah, nicely done, man. Congratulations.
No defilers, no defilers.
We didn't get any defilers, and the first Guardians came like 4 minutes in. That was very fortunate for Dime, so thank you everybody for giving him your energy.
Yeah, and also major... Ooh! Yeah.
A animação do StarCraft, que é muito boa. Melhor do que a do Community Code, que é parado.
And as it turns out, Kerrigan had her reason for telling us about this.
Para pensar que é de 1999 essa animação. Naquela época isso daí era realismo, cara. Então ficava de boca aberta vendo isso.
Bom, quando terminar de rolar a cena aí eu falo.
Cara, genial, hein? E a gente só continuando pro segundo game mesmo. Tudo isso.
So it did turn out it had the power to eradicate the Zerg, but it eradicated everything else on the planet at the same time.
O Dark Souls 2 ele é mais tarde, acho que é 10 horas, 10 e 10. Eu vou confirmar isso agora.
Só digitando um F no chat.
10h38. Dá pra ver na agenda. Exclamação, schedule ou agenda. Acho que os dois servem.
Good run time.
Yeah, great job, man. Congratulations.
Do we have 1
O
minute
Runner
to
quer
show
mostrar
off 2
duas
tricks?
coisinhas. Perguntou se tem 2 minutos pra
Do we have 1
fazer
minute
isso.
to show off 2 tricks? Okay.
Oh boy.
So this is named Total Recall for a reason. This is actually a trick that was discovered last year. This game is over 20 years old, and people have discovered new tricks in this game still. This is actually utilizing the pro scene a little bit, because what he's doing is using the fact that when units merge together, they grow and glitch out the pathing. And what he's going to do is he's trying to stack them up together as much as possible by making them glitch out like this, and it circumvents the normal unit cap of a recall.
Oh
my goodness! Keep patrol clicking, keep them stacked up. Because what you have to do is you have to get them glitched up and keep patrol clicking into the center to make them stack up as close as you can.
Caramba!
And what you're able to do with that is this recall.
O que acontece? Aquela habilidade ali não era pra pegar tanta unidade, era pra pegar até 16. Acabou que ele pegou tipo tudo.
We get 3 or 4 control groups worth of units.
I'm not sure what the second thing he's trying to show off is,
I have no idea.
Oh, there's another trick here where we're going to create real Archons out of using hallucinations. We're going to cheat a little bit. Sorry, Control 1, hold the hallucinations.
Boa!
I think after all my practice in the practice room, actually.
Ah, que genial isso, velho.
Ele treinou tanto que acabou que esqueceu.
So what he's trying to do is he's trying to trick the Templar into merging with a hallucination, I believe.
Lol.
It's very tight on the input to do it.
Yeah, essentially, I was watching a clip, and there was a Korean pro gamer in it, and you're supposed to do like Shift 1-1, and then it would change control to the real High Templar. You would merge the Archons, and then you get real Archons with the hallucination. So that's my bad here.
Wow.
But just a few people I want to thank before leaving here for some of the resources that helped us out. The Day 9 Daily, I got to go back and chill out and watch those.
Yeah.
The Pylon Show with Artosis and Jeff.
Good. Yep.
Mott Bob's Guide to Early StarCraft from 1998 to 2005. Team Liquid, the Liquipedia editors, and Freezered, and the Foreign Brood War Discord, and of course the amazing couch commentators we've had for this, Rail Coon and Covert Muffin.
Thank you for having us, Dime.
Thanks, Dime.
Bom, com isso aí a gente terminou aí a run de StarCraft, né?